Some screen pairings fade the moment the final episode airs. Others linger quietly in memory. And then there are rare pairings that continue to live on long after the cameras stop rolling. For many fans around the world, Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu belong firmly in that last category. Years have passed, projects have changed, and careers have moved forward. Yet fans still talk. Not in a loud or careless way, but with warmth, nostalgia, and respect. The question often asked is simple: why does this pairing still matter so much? The answer begins with timing. When Barış and Elçin first appeared together on screen, audiences were not just looking for entertainment. Viewers were searching for connection. Their drama arrived at a moment when people wanted stories that felt hopeful, emotionally grounded, and human. What they saw was not just a romantic plot, but a relationship that unfolded naturally, scene by scene, without forcing emotion. From their earliest moments on screen, there was a sense of balance. Barış brought a calm, understated presence. His expressions were controlled, his emotions measured, yet deeply felt. Elçin, on the other hand, carried brightness and energy. Her expressions were open, her reactions lively, and her emotional range wide. Together, these contrasts did not clash. They complemented each other. Fans noticed this immediately. Instead of overpowering one another, they created space. Each performance allowed the other to breathe. In conversations, silences felt meaningful. In emotional moments, restraint felt stronger than exaggeration. Viewers could imagine these characters existing beyond the script, continuing their lives when the scene ended. That sense of realism became a major reason fans stayed invested. Another reason people still talk about them is trust. On-screen trust is something audiences can sense instinctively. It shows in eye contact, in body language, and in how characters react to one another during emotional shifts. Barış and Elçin seemed to trust each other completely as performers. That trust translated into scenes that felt safe, honest, and emotionally clear. They never rushed emotional beats. When the story required joy, it unfolded gently. When conflict appeared, it felt earned rather than dramatic for the sake of drama. Fans felt guided rather than manipulated. Over time, viewers began associating the pairing with emotional comfort. Rewatching episodes became a way to revisit familiar feelings. In a world that often feels unpredictable, their story offered something stable and reassuring. This is a powerful reason why discussions continue years later. Another important factor is how the pairing respected its audience. The story never relied on shock value or controversy. There were no moments designed to provoke outrage or discomfort. Instead, the narrative focused on growth, understanding, and emotional connection. Fans could recommend the show to friends and family without hesitation. This sense of safety helped the pairing reach a wider audience and remain relevant over time. As the series gained popularity, fan communities began to grow. Online discussions, edits, and thoughtful analyses appeared. But what is notable is the tone of these conversations. Even today, most fans speak with maturity. They celebrate moments, performances, and storytelling rather than rumors or speculation. This reflects the tone set by the original work itself. Barış and Elçin also benefited from strong individual identities. Neither actor was overshadowed by the pairing. Fans admired them together, but also respected them separately. This balance prevented the partnership from feeling limiting or dependent. Instead of clinging to one moment in time, the pairing became something fans could appreciate without expectation. That distinction matters. When actors are perceived only as a couple, conversations can become unhealthy. But in this case, admiration stayed grounded. Fans appreciated what was created, not what they imagined beyond it. This helped preserve the legacy of the pairing in a positive way. As years passed and new projects arrived, something interesting happened. Rather than fading, appreciation deepened. Viewers who discovered the show later experienced it without the pressure of hype. They watched calmly and still felt the same emotional pull. This proved that the connection was not tied to trends, but to genuine storytelling. In fan comments and discussions, one theme appears again and again: People talk about how the pairing made them feel rather than what exactly happened in the plot. That emotional imprint is rare. It suggests that the performances touched something personal and universal at the same time. The continued conversation around Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu is not about nostalgia alone. It is about quality. It is about a moment in television where everything aligned: writing, performance, timing, and audience need. This is why fans still talk. Not because they expect a return, not because they demand more, but because some stories earn a permanent place in memory simply by being honest. And this story is one of them. As time passed, something unexpected happened with this pairing. Instead of slowly disappearing from public memory, it began to settle into a different space. Not loud, not trending every day, but steady, almost timeless. One of the strongest reasons fans continue to talk about Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu together is how naturally their connection aged. Many on-screen pairings are tied closely to a specific era. They feel exciting at the time, but later seem dated. This was not the case here. When viewers revisit their scenes years later, the performances still feel fresh. The emotions still land. The conversations still make sense. That longevity is rare, and it speaks to how grounded their acting choices were. They did not rely on exaggerated expressions or trendy storytelling styles. Instead, they focused on human behavior. Small gestures, pauses before speaking, subtle shifts in tone. These details do not age quickly because real human emotion does not change with time. Fans also talk about how believable the emotional progression felt. Their story was not rushed. Trust was built gradually. Feelings developed through shared experiences rather than sudden dramatic turns. This pacing allowed viewers to emotionally grow alongside the characters. When key moments arrived, they felt deserved. Audiences could trace the emotional journey step by step. That sense of earned connection is something people remember deeply. Another reason this pairing continues to be discussed is the balance of strength and vulnerability. Both characters were written as capable individuals, yet neither was portrayed as perfect. They made mistakes. They doubted themselves. They learned. This balance allowed audiences to see parts of themselves reflected on screen. Barış portrayed quiet resilience. His character often processed emotions internally, choosing action over words. Elçin brought emotional openness. Her character was expressive, thoughtful, and emotionally aware. Together, they showed that strength can exist in different forms without one overpowering the other. This dynamic resonated strongly with viewers. Fans often mention how comforting it was to watch two characters communicate with respect, even during conflict. Disagreements did not turn into cruelty. Tension did not become disrespect. This made their relationship feel safe to watch. In a media landscape where conflict is often exaggerated, this approach felt refreshing. The pairing also benefited from consistency. From early episodes to later moments, the emotional tone remained coherent. Characters did not change personalities suddenly to serve the plot. Growth happened gradually and logically. Viewers trusted the storytelling because it respected continuity. That trust translated into long-term appreciation. As discussions continued online, a pattern became clear. Fans were not just praising chemistry. They were praising craftsmanship. People talked about scene construction, dialogue delivery, and emotional rhythm. This kind of conversation usually appears around high-quality work. It suggests that the pairing invited thoughtful viewing rather than passive consumption. Another important factor is the absence of negativity. The story did not depend on shock, rivalry, or harmful stereotypes. It focused on understanding, patience, and emotional honesty. Because of this, fans can revisit it without discomfort. It remains suitable for a wide audience, across ages and cultures. That accessibility keeps the conversation alive. Over the years, new viewers have continued to discover the series. Many of them encounter it without knowing its popularity or history. And yet, they often reach the same conclusion as earlier fans. The connection feels real. The performances feel sincere. This shared reaction across different generations of viewers strengthens the legacy of the pairing. Interestingly, Fans also respect the fact that the story was allowed to end naturally. There was no unnecessary extension that diluted its impact. By ending at the right time, it preserved its emotional integrity. Sometimes, knowing when to stop is what makes a story unforgettable. Another layer to the continued discussion is gratitude. Viewers often express appreciation for how the pairing made them feel during a certain period of their lives. For some, it was a source of comfort during stressful times. For others, it was simply a reminder that gentle storytelling still has power. These personal associations keep the memory alive long after the final episode. What stands out most is how the admiration has remained respectful. Fans celebrate what was created without demanding more or rewriting reality. There is an understanding that some stories are special because they are complete. This maturity within the fanbase mirrors the tone of the original work itself. Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu together represent a moment when television storytelling trusted simplicity. It trusted emotion over spectacle. It trusted the audience to feel rather than be told what to feel. That trust paid off. Years later, fans still talk because the pairing did not try to be iconic. It simply tried to be honest. And honesty has a way of lasting far longer than hype. In the end, the continued conversation is not about longing or expectation. It is about recognition. Recognition of a rare alignment between actors, story, and audience. Recognition of a connection that was genuine in its time and remains meaningful today. That is why, even now, people still remember. And that is why they still talk. With distance comes clarity. When viewers look back now, years after the original broadcast, they see something more clearly than they could at the time. What made the pairing of Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu special was not just chemistry. It was restraint. In television, restraint is rare. Many productions push emotion hard. They underline feelings, explain them, repeat them. This pairing did the opposite. It trusted silence. It trusted the audience. Scenes were often allowed to breathe. A look lasted a second longer than expected. A pause said more than a line of dialogue ever could. These choices gave viewers space to feel rather than be instructed. Fans remember this deeply, even if they cannot always explain it in technical terms. Another reason the conversation continues is how naturally the characters evolved. Growth was not presented as a dramatic transformation. There were no sudden personality shifts. Instead, change happened quietly. A decision here, a realization there. Over time, viewers noticed that the characters were not the same people they were at the beginning, yet they could clearly understand how they arrived there. This kind of character development creates trust. When viewers trust a story, they invest emotionally. They rewatch. They recommend it. They defend it gently when others question its pace or simplicity. That trust is a major reason the pairing still feels relevant today. There is also something important about how the relationship avoided extremes. It was neither overly idealized nor unnecessarily harsh. Love was shown as supportive, sometimes challenging, but never destructive. Conflicts existed, but they were handled through conversation and reflection rather than cruelty. This balance made the relationship feel mature, even to younger viewers who may not have consciously noticed it at the time. As people grow older and revisit the story, many say they appreciate it even more. What once felt romantic now feels realistic. What once felt emotional now feels thoughtful. This shift in perception keeps the story alive across different stages of life. Fans often point out how well the pairing handled emotional equality. Neither character existed only to support the other. Both had personal goals, struggles, and identities beyond the relationship. This allowed the connection to feel like a meeting of two complete individuals rather than a dependency. That message resonates strongly, especially with viewers who value balanced storytelling. Another layer of lasting impact comes from how the performances respected boundaries. There was no reliance on shock moments or uncomfortable scenes to maintain interest. Emotion was conveyed through context, expression, and narrative buildup. This approach made the story suitable for a wide audience and allowed it to age gracefully. New viewers can watch it today without feeling that it belongs to a past television era. This safety is one of the reasons the pairing remains monetization-friendly and widely shareable. Clips, discussions, and retrospectives circulate without controversy. Fans can celebrate the work openly, focusing on performance and storytelling rather than defending it from criticism. This creates a healthy fan environment that sustains interest over time.